In today's video, we'll go over how to predictably hit your sales targets while staying profitable. We find all the companies in your total addressable market that currently have a problem, are in pain, and need your product or service, and then we reach out to them on your behalf and turn them into sales opportunities. We give you booked meetings with qualified decision makers who are interested and need your product, and then we pass them to you so you can continue on with your sales process. And we get paid only for the real quantifiable results that you get. We identify the companies actively facing challenges that your product can solve, and we get data insights into what each company's current needs and priorities are. This way, not only are we able to find the best people to reach out to, but we also understand them on a deeper level, which means that we know exactly what to say to each person to create messaging that cuts through the noise and helps you convert more of your prospects into sales opportunities. But what sets us apart is that we don't just focus on getting you more pipeline. Our main priority is to build systems that are cost effective and deliver a measurable ROI. We help companies hit their monthly, quarterly, and yearly sales targets so they can predictably scale and not have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on marketing that just isn't guaranteed to work, or having to hire, manage, train, and hold the hand of multiple salespeople just for them to not hit quota, and without having to rely on inconsistent customer acquisition channels that make it very hard to have real control over your sales. So here's the outline of what we'll be covering in this video. First, I'll go over the expected results you can get and who this is actually for. Then I'll talk about how we find people in pain that need your product using the modern selling principles. Then I'll talk about how long it takes to see results, and I'll also list out everything that you'll be getting if you work with us. Then I'll go over the pricing and the expected ROI, including how we guarantee results. Then I'll share some case studies, and after that I'll talk about the one little thing that we do that not many other firms do, but it makes a world of difference for our clients. Then I'll address some of your questions and concerns. I'll also talk about the different types of companies that we have gotten great results for. And for those of you who watch until the end, I have a free gift, which is basically a free way for you to test out our systems and see how everything works. But first, who am I? My name is Alexander Velev. I am the founder of GTM Revenue. I began years ago at a tech startup where I was the first sales hire and had to build out their entire go-to-market strategy from scratch. And later, after developing a solid playbook for the company that allowed us to scale, I was responsible for a team of 11 outbound SDRs. Then after gaining even more experience and seeing just how many companies fail to do outbound successfully because they're doing a lot of guesswork or they're using outdated strategies, I decided to start GTM Revenue, which was about 3 years ago. Since then, we have used our unique approach to outbound to create thousands of sales opportunities for ourselves and our clients. I also consult a couple of companies on go-to-market outbound strategy and profitably building outbound sales teams. I run a YouTube channel where I share behind the scenes of our systems and how we get results. You can find that at Alexander Velev on YouTube. Or if you want to connect with me or ask me any questions, here's my LinkedIn profile. So what are the expected results that you can get? The results can vary a lot between clients. For some, we've been able to get them over 40 meetings per month. And in other scenarios where the average contract value is a lot bigger and each meeting could result in a 7-figure deal, we can get around 3 to 4 meetings. So for you, this will depend on the quality and type of your product or service, your social presence, and the number of new opportunities you would like each month. And of course, if your total addressable market is big enough, we can always just increase the volume of our outreach and book you more meetings. On average, we consistently book over 15 meetings per month for our clients. First, here is us getting 67 meetings in 2 months for a marketing analytics and attribution software company. This campaign was to 5,300 leads, out of which 403 responded, 97 positively, out of which 44 were qualified, showed interest and booked a meeting. The second campaign was to 860 leads, out of which 116 responded with a pretty good response rate of 13.5%. And out of those, 23 were qualified, showed interest and booked a meeting. So that is 67 meetings in the 2 months that we ran those campaigns. Then second, here's us getting 34 meetings in 2 months for a automation SaaS company. This campaign was to 5,980 leads, out of which 372 responded. And out of them, 34 were qualified, showed interest and booked a meeting. And after this first pretty big campaign, we got a lot of data and we launched a second one, which was a lot more targeted. And we were able to book them 14 more meetings in 2 weeks. This campaign was to 566 leads with a really good response rate of 21%. 119 people responded, out of which 14 were qualified and booked a meeting. And lastly, here's us getting 19 meetings for a field service management platform. The campaign was to 1,600 leads, out of which 176 responded. Again, pretty good response rate of 11%. And out of them, 19 were qualified and booked a meeting. And to show you that this is actually real, in a little bit, I'll take you behind the scenes and share with you our exact process of how we got those results. All of these meetings are with interested decision makers. That means CEOs, founders, VPs, and directors from different companies that fit the criteria of what our clients would consider a perfect customer. This works both if you want to target SMBs or enterprise companies. In fact, we have booked meetings for our clients with some of the largest companies out there, like AT&T. And not only does this work for our clients, but we have also signed the majority of deals in my company using the exact same system. And that's simply because it works so well. So who is this actually for? This is if you sell a B2B service or a B2B software, so anything B2B, and your LTV must be higher than $10,000 to $15,000. And this is simply to make sure that you can run the system profitably. And third, this won't be a 1 month or a 2 month thing. Ideally, we should be able to get you results over a long period of time. And if you're not sure if your total addressable market is big enough, we can help you figure that out as well. Now let's get into the behind the scenes of how we get results. You've seen already that we do outbound, but how is what we do different from regular outbound sales and what's new about it? I regularly talk to founders and VPs of sales from different companies, and most of them take a very outdated approach to outbound or prospecting. I think it's obvious. The whole world of sales and acquiring new customers has changed, and it's changed in a way where it's a lot harder to get a good ROI on initiatives or to even get any results in the first place when you start a new initiative. According to a recent industry report, sales reps today, on average, are getting 55% less quality conversations per day than they did in 2014. And this is despite them doing about 50% more attempts per prospect. So a 55% drop in quality conversations, even though they're doing 50% more volume. I mean, that's a huge change. And besides all of this, everyone keeps doing the same things that no longer work. Just look at your inbox and you'll probably see a ton of messages every single week that are not relevant to you whatsoever. Most companies are not only hitting the actual spam filters, but also the mental spam filters, meaning that the people they want to talk to completely disregard what they have to say. And if you have done any outbound in the past or you're currently doing it and you're not getting great results, most likely you're also hitting the mental spam filters. Just like the messages you receive daily and you don't pay much attention to. So if you aren't growing as fast as you would like, or you aren't getting deals with the accounts you want, or you simply are not hitting your sales targets, that's because it really has become way harder to do so. And to address this issue, companies experiment with the latest strategies and new AI tools, which are supposed to be game changers. However, the majority fall short and fail to deliver the significant change that's expected from them. So you can try a new strategy or a new tool, or you can just throw more headcount at the problem, but that won't lead to real change. And that's because you're still not addressing the root cause of all of this, which is that you should never disregard the prospects, or they will not pay any attention to you, and they will just continue on with their day like they never even noticed you. In B2B sales, we're trying to get quality conversations with busy people, especially if you're targeting up the ladder. Those people don't want to know about your company or your different product features, or in fact any other company that reaches out, as there's simply way too many to pay attention to. What your prospects want to know is that you research them, but most importantly, that you have something meaningful to say that is relevant to their specific situation. And that doesn't mean personalization. We need to stop thinking about personalization as the solution and create a modern selling system, which means taking what has always worked and will always work, the principles of good selling, and use new technology to apply those principles in a modern way. This way, we create an entirely new system which allows us to go beyond personalization and make sure we're being relevant and have something meaningful to say to each person we talk to, and that we can capture prospects at an earlier point in the buyer's journey before all of your competitors start targeting them, and that we can automate data enrichment, account research, and other low value, high cost activities so that you can run this system at a significantly lower cost compared to what the average company is doing. The overall focus of this system is on getting great results while also being very efficient, meaning more results at a lower cost. And by now, I'm sure you would want to know how this system would actually look like in practice. And that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you now. I'll give you 2 real-world examples of how we've implemented this for our clients, and this will be an in-depth explanation of our exact thinking process and behind the scenes of our systems. First, I want to share with you the story of one of our clients and how we rebuilt their entire outbound sales playbook. And in the process, we also completely changed the way they think about acquiring new customers. They're a SaaS company helping large organizations with their field operations. And when we started working together, they were trying to build an outbound sales team to bring in more predictable pipeline. But they had 4 sales reps who were all missing their quota. They were trying new strategies and testing different messaging, but they still couldn't hit their sales targets. So it was a losing initiative. And you might want to know, why were they unable to do it successfully? And the root cause of the problem was again that they were disregarding their prospects. Let me show you what I mean. This is how they were thinking about their outbound. First, they had just one ICP, one segment, which encompassed all companies that would qualify under a broad set of criteria like industry and headcount. And all companies that qualified under this criteria would be looked at the same way. So we had a telecom company with 5,000 employees being treated the same as a utility company with 500 employees. Then what they would do is go to ZoomInfo, which is a data provider where you can get this data and people's email addresses, and they would give 25 leads per week to each one of their sales development representatives. Then the SDRs would upload these contacts to a sending tool and manually personalize each and every email they would send. But what they didn't do, yes, they did personalize the email, but they didn't think about whether or not it's actually relevant to the person they're reaching out to. And they also didn't change their core messaging, despite there being different use cases in every industry they would reach out to. If any of this sounds similar to what you believe good outbound is, then you definitely need to see the changes we made and what the modern way of doing outbound looks like. What this organization didn't do was account for the fact that every company is different and that at any given point it has different priorities and problems. And that personalization is not the silver bullet people think it is, because none of this actually matters if you're not talking to the right people who currently need your product. And most of the time, even if prospects have the need for it, companies still lose them because they talk about the wrong things, because they're not sure what to say. Knowing these things, we went in and completely restructured their entire approach. And the changes we made actually had a company-wide impact. We changed their thinking from, hey, let's target people by industry and company size, to let's look at our customers and find other companies that are currently in the same position as our customers were before they converted or when they converted. We switched from targeting by broad fit, which means targeting by industry, headcount, location, this type of targeting, to the new way of targeting specific company situations. We made a list of their entire total addressable market and scored all companies on a set of criteria. First, we made a list which consisted of all companies that would qualify under this broad criteria, and then we filtered out the ones we shouldn't be reaching out to. And since our client software is only useful for companies with a lot of field technicians and helps them with their day-to-day operations, we knew that we should only be speaking to companies with a large number of field technicians. Everybody else is not a good fit and we absolutely should not be reaching out to them. So we filtered them out. And then we needed a way to research and find the companies that have problems with their field technicians' operations and management. And before I explain the whole process of how this works, know that we have access to a ton of different data, and how we identify and create your targeting strategy will be a lot different from what you're seeing here. You should pay attention to the way we think and how we approach the problem. That's the main reason I'm sharing this. In this case, we tried many different signals like monitoring job postings for keywords, reading employee reviews and looking for mentioned problems, also scraping customer feedback looking for keywords, and we also tried a couple others to find, all of this was to try to find the companies that currently have problems that are visible. But to keep it simple, because we tested a lot of things, to keep it simple, I will just share with you our best performing one. Since our client was primarily targeting larger organizations that all have a lot of employees, we knew that they would most likely have a lot of feedback and reviews from those employees online. And we went to glassdoor.com, which is a company review website where employees can review their current or past company. And we looked for reviews in the last 9 months that would mention certain keywords that would indicate there is a problem that our client's product could solve, like working overtime or the lack of work-life balance or inadequate communication with management or the inability to do work properly because of a problem with their processes. We got reviews for a lot of the companies on the list, and we now had some context about what's going on internally in each company. And here's the new way we would approach their targeting and messaging. First, since we're targeting multiple different industries and regions, and this might already be a little bit confusing, to keep it simple, I'll just focus on one example. So the first thing we do after getting the list of their total addressable market is we separate it on an industry level, because we know that each industry has a different use case for our client software, and that also reflects in our messaging, where we are using industry specific language and we are also talking about those specific use cases for that industry. The next thing that we do is we additionally qualify each prospect and company on the list. So after getting the first step of getting the list of their total addressable market, the next thing we did is we try to distill it and get rid of the companies that don't have the need for the product. And one of the main things that we did is we got rid of the companies that didn't have enough field service technicians in their team. Because if they don't have enough of them, they simply don't run into the problems that our client's product solves. And after we additionally qualified each company on the list and got rid of the ones we shouldn't be wasting any effort reaching out to, the next step was to find relevant signals that would indicate their present problems that we can help them solve. And the best way that we did this, our best performing campaign, as I told you earlier, was where we went to glassdoor.com and we looked for insightful reviews from employees that would indicate there are certain problems. And the next thing is that we knew that depending on the problem, each job title would be affected differently by that problem. So a director of operations and a project manager would be affected differently by the same problem. So we separated the list again. And depending on the job title, we knew that we should only be talking about the metrics that they care about, that they're judged on within the company. So we cannot go to a director of operations and talk about resource utilization, or go to a project manager talking about operational efficiency or first time fix rate. We need to keep it directly correlated to the metrics that they care about and how those problems that we found directly negatively impact the metrics that each job title cares about. And this was for the branch where we found insightful reviews. But we didn't find reviews for every company, we found for a lot of them. But for those that we didn't, we still reached out to them. But this is the interesting part that I want us to focus on. And here's how our messaging looked in the end. Hey Bill, so you've been leading operations at company for around 3 years, so I wanted to reach out. I was on Glassdoor and noticed that some of your technicians are mentioning that they don't have access to accurate information and report having to work longer than scheduled, which is probably significantly impacting your technicians' productivity. We recently worked with, this is a case study here of a company that's similar to the one we're reaching out to, that our client has a case study with. We recently worked with company and to increase their technician productivity by 25% by optimizing task allocation and digitalizing information access. Would it be useful if I shared more information about how we might be able to do the same for you? The first line is personalization for each person we reach out to. Then the second line changes depending on the reviews that are available and the mentioned problems in those reviews. And in this case, the reviews that we read gave us some insights that would probably mean that there's a decrease in technician productivity. And then we changed the case study to be of a similar company to the one we are reaching out to. And in the case study part, we are talking about the same metric as above. So here we are talking about decreased technician productivity. The case study is about the exact same metric. And also the person we are reaching out to, in this case, is a director of operations. This is the person that's responsible for that metric. So you can begin to see how we are aligning all of these different parts to just create an amazing message. And all of these parts that I mentioned here change for each person and each company we reach out to. And I can continue talking about how great the message is, or I can just show you the results, which I also showed you earlier. The campaign we ran was to around 1600 leads, out of which 176 responded, which is a really good response rate of around 11%. And out of those that responded, 19 were qualified, showed interest and booked a meeting. And then later talking to our client, I found that within 2 months they had closed 3 accounts. And then later I think they closed a couple more just from this campaign. And yes, the campaign got us great results. But there's one problem. To create a different email for each person, it takes a really long time. Scraping the list of leads, making sure each company is qualified, researching each prospect on LinkedIn, making sure they're the right one to be reaching out to, and reaching them with additional data, going on Glassdoor and reading all reviews, looking for problems, writing the personalization, writing about something you found during your research, selecting the right case study, making sure the whole message makes sense, and manually entering data into your CRM. This takes an experienced person over 20 minutes per email to do everything, but most likely you'll need to send a high volume of these messages to get the results you want, which will in return require a lot of manpower. So if you want to hit your sales targets, you need to source, interview, train and manage more sales reps, making it an inefficient and expensive process. So even though it may get great results on the surface level, when we look under the hood, we see that the ROI just isn't the best. If only there was a better way to do this, where we can keep the personal touch and do that at a high enough volume to hit your sales targets, but do that without burning a hole in your budget. And yes, there is a way. And that's the big plot twist. It didn't take us 20 or 30 minutes to research and write the email above. Here's how the message was actually created. Hey name, so you've been leading operations at company for X time, so I wanted to reach out. I was on Glassdoor and noticed that here we have a summary of the reviews, which is AI generated, which is probably impact of the mentioned problems, again AI generated. And then we have a case study of a lookalike company, and then we have the call to action. And here are the emails side to side. I already showed you the version on the right. I already showed you this one earlier. And as you can see in this behind the scenes version, we have a lot of custom fields like first name or name in this case. And we've all received emails with our first name in the beginning. So you definitely know how these fields work, but you might have some questions about how the other ones were generated. So let's look at our process from beginning to end so you can understand how this works. The first step is to figure out the targeting and understand what the prospects care about, which I already showed you earlier, where we segmented the list by industry, problems that we found, job titles, etc. I just show you this. The next step, which we'll talk about now, is to create the perfect outreach message. And the perfect message is something that we create manually, and it includes everything you can see in the message I just showed you. As soon as the prospects open it, it's clear that we did research on the person and that this is specifically for them. We also went above and beyond to find out what's going on internally in each company and create a message that isn't just personalized, but it's relevant. And we align the problems found to the right title in each company responsible for the KPIs that are being negatively impacted by the problems that are mentioned in the reviews. So it has all of the characteristics that make an amazing message. It's relevant to the person, it's concise, and it's also very well researched. We have written hundreds and hundreds of sequences, so we have developed a checklist system for what a great message looks like. Once we have it ready, we list out all of the steps it would manually take us to create it. And that includes everything from qualifying each person to writing the actual message. And the steps for this one looked something like this. And then we work on automating each of these steps one by one. Simpler tasks like researching on LinkedIn or getting people's email addresses, we can automate very easily. So getting the list, that's easy to automate. Qualifying, making sure that they have enough field service technicians, those steps are pretty straightforward. But when it comes to actually writing the message, summarizing the main points in the reviews, and other tasks where logic, context, and understanding are required, this is where we use generative AI as an empathy machine. I'll explain. When an SDR is doing this process manually, he first needs to do his research and get the needed data. Then he has to understand that data, and based on his understanding of his research, he has to write a message. So this is exactly the process here. First get the data, understand it, and then write a message according to your research. So this exact same process that an SDR goes through, we use generative AI to do the same thing. So now I'll break down exactly how we automate this process. First getting the data, then understanding it, and writing the message. The first step is we automate the collection of data over here. From LinkedIn, we get company data and the person's work experience, which we later use in the message. From a data provider like ZoomInfo, we get the person's name, the email, the company name, and any other company and person information. From Glassdoor, we get full reviews that contain specific keywords from a keyword list that we developed together with our client. And this whole process of getting the data is completely automated. The part with Glassdoor, it's a little bit harder. That's why we have a developer on our team, which helps us do all of these really cool custom scrapes. But this whole process is automated through different APIs and automation workflows. And because we have a developer and access to a lot of different data sources, we have over 100 different data sources, which is a really nice competitive advantage because we most likely have access to data that your competitors aren't looking at. So now that we have completed the first step, which is getting the data, now we have to understand it and also write our message. And when it comes to writing the message, you should absolutely never use AI to write the whole thing. What you should do instead is create the structure of a nice message. That's why we always start with creating the message first manually. Then we turn that into a nice and structured approach where we can use these custom fields which are generated by AI. And our goal with AI is to basically emulate the same process an SDR would go through. That's why I call it AI as an empathy machine, tasked with understanding all of the inputs, and we give it a lot of inputs so it can create a message that's based on those inputs, and it also has a creative constraint. And the creative constraint that we put on AI is to basically prevent it from just thinking outside of the box too much. We put it inside of a constraint, imagine a box, and we train it on real examples of what we would write if we would manually do the process. The way we create a summary of the reviews and a message talking about the impacts of the problems mentioned in the reviews is we have two inputs for the AI. First is all of the data we collected here, and the most important one is the reviews. And then the other one is company context. So this is case studies, targeting in industry context, and also product info of our client. So the AI has all of the needed data. It has a lot of company context. It's trained on real examples of what we would do if we were to do this manually. And it also has creative constraints. And this is how we make sure that the quality is equal or many times even better than what an SDR would be able to do. And for this client, we used AI for a couple different campaigns. As I told you already, the Glassdoor campaign was the best performing one, but another well-performing campaign was where we monitored companies in their total addressable market and their job postings, and we used AI to analyze the job description and come up with a message. There are many different workflows we can create. For example, in my firm, we use AI for lead scoring and also giving out free value. Some of our best campaigns are where we use AI to come up with great outbound campaign ideas, and then we give those creative ideas to our prospects. The main points here are that AI does what any sales rep would do. Its task is to first understand and then use the context to create a relevant message. Also, these are just a few examples, and the systems that we build for our clients often look much different, and what we'll build out for you will most likely also look different than this. And also that there is no reason why a person should be doing any of this work manually anymore. We can get equal and often even better quality work using this approach. But we don't always use AI. Sometimes we don't need to. We use AI when a lot of understanding and empathy are required to create a great message. And sometimes we don't see the need for that. So I want to share with you how we built a very successful outbound campaign from scratch for another client without using any AI. This one will be a much simpler example, and I'll also share with you, this is really cool, how this process looks inside of our tool. And people usually get excited for that. In this case, we didn't see the need for AI, and we adopted an approach that's more fit for a larger scale, as this client's total addressable market is huge. The organization we helped provides a software for advanced ad tracking and attribution, and they had never done any outbound and were a newer startup back when we started. So we had to figure out a lot of things from scratch. We knew that only companies running ads and getting a decent amount of traffic from those ads would be a fit for our client software, and everyone else that's not running ads or isn't getting enough traffic for those ads, meaning they're not spending enough on ads, we should not be reaching out to them. Notice that we again disqualify bad fits even before reaching out to them or getting on a call with them, and only then realizing we are wasting our time. To do this, we programmatically scraped similarweb.com for information on website traffic data and builtwith.com to see which ad pixels each company had installed on their website. So with these two steps, we had information on which ad platforms each company is using and what percentage of their total traffic is coming from those ads. And again, I'll just show you our best performing message to keep this simple and not turn this into a 3-hour video. So both of these are the same message, just the first one still has the custom fields and the second one has them actually filled out. And after this, I'll actually take you behind the scenes and show you inside of our tool and how we actually get the data to put in those custom fields. And here's how the final message looks. Hey Brian, congratulations on your new position as CMO. How are you finding it so far? It looks like you're running ads on 4 platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok and Twitter, and about 24% of your traffic is coming from those ads. Have you noticed that actual sales and attributed sales in ad platforms do not match? On average, there's about a 20% difference between the two, which means that you cannot accurately identify which ads are actually performing, and you're making decisions based on false data. Do you want to see what's really going on? Okay, I am inside of the tool now and I've just got a list of 10 random companies. I just got this list randomly. They're all e-commerce companies, I think. And we're going to accomplish a couple of things. First, we're going to find out which of these companies are running paid ads, so they're getting traffic on their website from those paid ads. And we're going to find out what percentage of the traffic is coming from paid ads, of the total traffic. And then we're going to find out for those companies what ad platforms they're using. So first we're going to use SEMrush. I know I said we used SimilarWeb, but now we use SEMrush. There's not really that big of a difference. And I'm just going to run this for all 10 rows over here. And what this does is it uses the SEMrush API and just gets us the results right back. So if I go in here and I go to paid visits, there we go. Now we see that 3 companies are getting some or a lot of their traffic from paid visits, and then I can also go to total visits and put that in the next column. And here I can just easily calculate the percentages. Here we can also just, this works as a normal spreadsheet, right? So we can calculate that normally. And what SDRs would usually need to do is they would manually go to SEMrush or SimilarWeb, copy and paste each one of these domains one by one, read through the whole page, and then come up with these numbers. But when we're talking about reaching out to hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of rows over here, that is, you should never be doing that manually, right? So even if we had 10,000 rows in here, this would still just happen automatically for all of them. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Build With, where we can find which ad platforms they're using. And the way this happens is we need to enter in the technology names. So Twitter ads is one, Facebook pixel, TikTok conversion tracking pixel. You can add in Google ads, Pinterest ads, all of those pixels in here. And then I'm going to save and not run this. And then we're just going to launch this for the 3 that we found had a lot of paid traffic. And then I'm going to just put this in a new column. So now I think we did it. We found out which of these companies on the list are doing paid ads, and we also found out which platforms they're using. And then I also wanted to show you really quickly everything that is possible. So we cannot just copy and paste this into our email. We need to normalize it and get the ad platform names in a comma separated list, so they're usable. So we can create a custom field within our sending tool and just reference this thing over here. And the way we do this is We can get all of these different data over here from a bunch of different data sources. And then we can combine that with AI. I just wrote a really quick prompt over here, nothing special. And then we can also automate LinkedIn research. So I enriched all of the companies over here. I can, for example, get their description in a new column. And now, once I have it in a new column, okay, there we go, it loaded. Once I have it in a new column, I can also use AI and reference this data over here as well. So within this spreadsheet, we can do a bunch of operations. And then within our sending tool, we can just reference any of the data in the spreadsheet, which is just so amazing because we can do all of the operations here, upload it with one click via an API to our sending tool, create the custom fields, and just have a ready campaign. And the good thing about this is that it's actually just one example of thousands that are possible. So, like, to be honest with you, even this is very simple, just so you can understand it. Usually what we do is a little bit more complicated, but I think you can get the idea of what's possible. So you can begin to imagine how you could use this new approach and change the way you're thinking about outbound. And the results we got for them, for this campaign over here that we ran, and I just showed you how we automated it, was to 5,300 leads, out of which 403 responded, and 44 were qualified, showed interest, and booked a meeting. And this was in about 2 months. If you haven't noticed so far, we use email, but why do we use email? Once we create the messages using our unique and different approach, which I've been talking to you about, we primarily deliver those messages through email. And you could take the same system and just send the messages via any other channel, it doesn't really matter, but we use email as it is the best way to reach people in almost any industry. Everyone has an email and we just know how to make people open and respond to ours. We make possible the delivery of relevant messages at scale, and because we can be targeting a carefully selected group of people that are more likely to convert, email is the most cost-effective way to acquire new customers, especially if we compare the ROI to something like if you were to hire multiple in-house sales reps to do cold calls. And another reason is that the sales channel isn't really that important. Picking a channel is easy, but doing all the other work the right way is what's really holding companies back from hitting their sales targets. And I'm talking about the overall vision, getting the right data, targeting the right way, messaging, strategy, and optimization. Solving these components is what really makes or breaks everything. And these are the things that we actually take care of that are way more important than the sales channel. And the same exact insights could be taken to any other channel. But when sending this many emails, a problem that most people run into is deliverability, meaning how do you make sure that every person that you want to reach out to actually receives your email in their primary inbox. Most companies that decide to do outbound themselves don't even realize that their emails are not even getting delivered. Sometimes we get over 90% open rate, and other times for tougher audiences or like tougher industries, we get around 60 to 70%. But if you're getting less than 50% open rates, then you definitely have a deliverability problem. And most of the time this happens because companies lack the experience or the expertise on how to set up the backend tech correctly. So let me break down to you why your emails are not even getting delivered. All email service providers like Gmail, Google, or Microsoft Outlook, they have advanced spam filters that get harder to beat with time, especially if you lack the experience. So what determines if your emails go to spam or not? There are many factors like people marking you as spam, irregular sending volume, spam trigger words, lack of backend setup, AI detection, and even IP blacklists. And the worst part of this is that if you don't get this right, you even risk getting your main IP blacklisted, meaning that even your clients or your actual contacts will no longer be able to receive your emails. But even with all of this, we've been able to keep our open rates really high. And most of the time, to be honest with you, we don't even track open rates, but sometimes we do. So how do you make sure that you don't get blacklisted and that the people you want to reach out to actually receive your emails? Well, the first step is to make sure that you have multiple domains that are different from your main domain. So in my case, I have over 30 different domains besides my main domain, which is GTM revenue. And for each domain, I have set up 2 email accounts. For each domain, you need to set up a DMARC, SPF, and DKIM records. And then we put all of those accounts in a pool with other clean accounts for them to simulate normal sending activity. And what this does is it increases your account's reputation with your email service provider, which further ensures that you actually don't go to spam and as many of your emails as possible can land in the primary box. Then when we write the copy for our emails, what we do is we create different copy micro variations for each email and we spin them randomly using spin tags. Because if you're sending the same email or the same message to 100 people a day, every 5 minutes, you will be detected. That's why we use spin tags and make each email slightly unique, so we make sure we don't go to spam. Because no human sends the exact same message over and over again to different contacts. Then while writing our email copy, we also have an extensive list of words that could cause all of your emails to go to spam, or at least a high percentage of them. Common words like ROI or save time or save money. And then the last thing we do is we double verify our data and make sure that we don't get any bounced emails. Because if you're getting a lot of bounced emails, that will automatically decrease your reputation with the ESP, meaning that over time, more and more of your emails will actually go to spam. So you need to double verify all of your data. So now let's get into the response management and conversion system. The goal of each email is to get a positive response. And the goal of each positive response is to get that prospect to a meeting. But when sending hundreds of emails, it is a job in and of itself to handle all of those replies. So you need to follow up with prospects who showed interest but didn't book a call. You need to respond to all questions and objections. You also need to make sure that each prospect is qualified before even booking the call. And then you need to run them through the conversion process and finally book the meeting itself. And it's crucial that you respond to interested leads as fast as humanly possible. The faster the better. And I should have put in the stats over here. But there is a huge drop off the longer you wait to respond. So you need to be on it all the time. Even 2 hours might be the difference between you getting that decision maker on a call and closing them down the line, right? We need to assume for sales cycles, or you just losing the opportunity. And you're going to be getting a ton of responses. So we train an inbox manager on our team on your company services and important nuances. And we handle everything from answering questions and tracking the performance to following up. And we even book the meetings for your sales team. And usually a lot of teams use something like Calendly, so we'll just book the meetings through that, or whatever it is that you use to book meetings. And we follow up for as long as needed. So after getting a positive response, you can see this is 21 days of following up. And a lot of companies would have lost the deal. A lot of people just don't do enough follow-up. And even though we book the meetings through Calendly, for example, and you get notified through that, we additionally also notify you within our group Slack channel, and the notification looks something like this whenever we book a meeting. Okay, let's get into the optimization and reporting. We view outbound holistically, meaning above funnel, data and targeting, top of funnel, generating sales opportunities or pipeline, and how that reflects the bottom of the funnel, which is the realized revenue through our outbound generated opportunities. So we don't just focus on delivering meetings, but also on how things like targeting and different messaging angles are affecting the quality of the meetings, the close rate, and also the average contract value. So we don't look at vanity metrics like open rate and tell you, hey, look at our amazing open rate, because you probably don't really care about that. What you care about is realized revenue through our generated opportunities. So that's what we optimize for. And we continuously look at the feedback. we are getting from our campaigns and your sales team, and we make data-driven decisions on changes we can make to optimize the performance on both sides, so top of funnel and also bottom of funnel. And this is an iterative process, so with time you should be getting better and better results. And when we run our campaigns, this is some of the data that we collect, and probably the most important ones that you care about is new leads contacted, which is okay, how many new leads did we contact this week and this month? Then total meetings booked and number of emails sent to book one meeting. And probably this should be instead, it definitely should be number of leads contacted to book one meeting. And any other additional information and all of these metrics over here. And you receive a report at the end of every week with all of this data. And we also get on a weekly call to discuss our campaign performance and our next ideas. And we work with you and your sales team on optimizing the bottom of funnel results. But how long does it take to see results? Most clients see their first meeting within the first 1 to 2 weeks of the campaigns going live, some even within the first couple of days or sometimes even the first day, but on average first 1 to 2 weeks. And this is how the typical onboarding looks from your perspective. First, you fill out an onboarding form, you provide us with a lot of important information we'll later use when we are testing different targeting and messaging. Then you need to attend an onboarding call where we set expectations. We go over strategy and how everything is going to look. Then while we create our strategy and assets, we keep a good line of communication with you and update you on all of our progress. And after we have the initial assets ready, you review the messaging and sequences, the lead list, the targeting, basically everything, and we make the necessary changes after getting your feedback. And after getting an approval on everything and making sure that everything is perfect, we launch our first campaign, which is typically 2 to 3 weeks after the initial invoice payment. And after that, in 1 to 2 weeks, you should be able to get in your first meeting. As you can see from everything we've went over so far, this is a time and resource intensive process, but we handle it all for you. So here's the A to Z on what we'll do for you. First is the onboarding and creating the communication channels. We send out an onboarding form, we create a group Slack channel and invite the team, and also create a project management board. Then step 2 is building out the email infrastructure. So we buy domains and set up users in each one of those domains. Then we set up DMARC, SPF and DKIM records for each of the domains. We set up website forwarding and we create a master inbox with a CRM. And then all of the email accounts that we created, we add them to a warm-up pool so they can begin the process of warming up. Then step 3 is the onboarding call, where we set expectations and talk about targeting and data and come up with a plan with our next steps. And here also, if you don't have a calendar where we can book in meetings, we also help you create one. Then step 4 is we do research to understand the unique aspects of your industry and audience, and we conduct interviews with customers and members of your team so we can understand how to differentiate you in your outreach to create messaging that helps you stand out and also get better results. Then 5, we create the initial assets so we can review them. We develop an initial marketing thesis and expanded ICP. We create an initial lead list and also develop multiple different sequence variations. Then after we have them ready, we give them to you so you can review them, and then we iterate and improve on our campaign assets based on your feedback. And after we get your approval, we can continue to the next step, which is developing the full lead list. So based on your feedback, we update our targeting and lead qualification criteria. We scrape the new list, we validate it and pull out all of the invalid emails, and we validate that all of the data is right. Then we enrich it with additional data, and this is based on the type of campaign we're going to run. And then we segment the list based on our marketing thesis. Then step 8 is writing the full email sequences. Again, using your feedback, we complete the full email sequences and we write different copy for each list segment, and we build out A/B split tests for each campaign. Then after we have everything ready, we have the full lead list ready, we have the entire sequences, then we get your final approval of our campaign assets. So we present them all to you, and again, we make any changes that are necessary, and we want to make sure that everything is perfect before launching. And that's the next step. Step 10 is launching the campaigns. So we upload all of our data into the sending tool, we add spin tags to the email copy across all sequences, and we set up the right campaign settings for each campaign. Then step 11 is handling the responses and booking your first meeting, and then continuously booking you more meetings. And while that's happening, we develop SOPs around response management and just how to convert as many prospects as possible into meetings. That's the SOP system. Then we respond to inboxes promptly on your behalf. We follow up with leads until meetings are booked, and we make sure that the leads are qualified even before booking the call. And what's going to happen here is that we are going to book meetings on your calendar on autopilot. Then step 12 is sending the weekly KPI report and also getting on a weekly call. So I already showed you what the report kind of looks like earlier. We send out that report at the end of each week, and we report on how the week went and share any relevant updates. Then we future pace with anything that needs to happen, and we also get your feedback and look for ways to innovate and get even better results. Then step 13, which is the last step, is to iterate, optimize, and also launch new campaigns. Here we make data-driven decisions on updates that need to be made to each campaign. Then we iterate the process of launching new campaigns, and we communicate with you and get your feedback and data so we can optimize the realized revenue coming from our leads. And I talked about this concept earlier. Okay, and now let's get into the important question of pricing and ROI. When it comes to price and ROI, I think it's fair to compare this to one of your alternatives, which is hiring one or more in-house sales reps. And the average salary of an in-house sales rep is between $60,000 to $80,000, and this is in the US. And here we are not accounting for additional costs like training costs, administration, management, employer payroll taxes, and also human resources. And here you're also going to have some software costs, which are going to be around $5,000 to $10,000 plus per year per user for tools like HubSpot, Salesforce, LinkedIn Sales Nav, Outreach.io, and a lot of teams are using some are using over 10 tools. So that's going to run you a lot per user. Then when talking about data, you're probably going to be doing, or your sales reps are going to be doing, a lot of manual research and manual data enrichment, resulting in hours wasted daily instead of doing the work that actually matters, which is selling. And you're going to be using limited data sources such as mainstream databases like ZoomInfo, and costs for data are pretty big. And with some data providers, to get 5,000 leads, it will cost you around $1 per lead, so $5,000. And then when talking about the hiring process, according to my sources, it costs over $4,000 on average per new hire. And this is accounting for the time spent, job postings, conducting interviews, and also negotiating salaries. And it takes upwards of 30 days to make the hire, and I think it was on average 31 days. And with everything I mentioned so far, it's probably going to cost you well over $120,000 per year per each SDR on your team. But we haven't even begun the conversation about how different the expected results are, where you compare working with someone like us versus your own in-house SDR. And that's not to mention that an SDR does not have the cumulative experience we have and simply cannot build you the same systems that we can. And we actually do more than what a typical SDR does. So if you wanted to replicate our services in-house, you would need to hire a couple additional people. An SDR or an SDR team, a developer to create all of the automation workflows and do custom web scraping, a data team to create strategic lists, score the total addressable market and understand the data around message market fit, and some sort of a leader of your go-to-market strategy to come up with the overall strategy, manage it, and continuously optimize the entire process. The real costs, if you wanted to build this on your own, as you can see, are very high. Just one SDR costs about $120,000 per year. So this entire thing is going to cost you a lot. But how much do we charge? Well, we have multiple different offers depending on what you need. The first one is the completely done for you offer. This is our main offer where we'll do everything I have shown you so far. Completely done for you. And the pricing for it depends on the client, but we would either do a pay-per-call model or a flat monthly retainer. And all pricing is calculated based on the return that you get. So this is both for the pay-per-call model or the flat monthly retainer. And that way, we make it physically impossible not to see an ROI on our services. And if we don't think we can deliver good results, we'll simply refuse to work with you. Then we also have a done with you offer and a consulting offer. And these two offers are mainly for companies with established sales teams or for those that want to build these same exact systems in-house with our help. And pricing for them depends on what exactly it is that you need, because the deliverables here, they can vary a lot. And if you want to learn more, because again, this can fluctuate a lot here, just ask me on a call. Overall, we are a fraction of the price of what you would need to pay if you wanted to build this in-house on your own. And we are not even accounting for the sheer amount of time you would need to spend to even begin setting this up. And then we're not even talking about how long it would take to actually figure it out. With us, you're putting your trust in a team that has done this before successfully, many times over. And we are living proof, as the majority of deals in my company have come from the exact same system that we sell to other companies. Our own campaigns sometimes book too many meetings and we have to turn them off because we don't want to work with too many clients and we like to maintain a great experience for the current clients that we have, because our approach is very hands-on. But this exact same thing happens to our clients where we have had to turn off their campaigns because they're getting too many meetings. Here they even had to hire another account executive. And I'm not telling you that we'll be able to get you to the same point where you're getting way too many meetings and we have to turn off the campaigns. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that I've given you the proof. I even showed you two in-depth behind the scenes breakdowns of real campaigns that we run and the results that those got. And it's rare that I see someone giving away so much free value. And now let's answer some of your questions. Can we increase or decrease the number of meetings per month? Yes, but with the increase comes small additional costs. But since you're going to be getting more meetings, the small price increase is more than justified. Can you split the booked meetings to multiple salespeople in our team? Yes, we can do that according to your needs. Can you integrate with our systems or CRM? Most likely, yes, we can. But to make sure, on a call, you need to ask me and tell me exactly what it is that you're trying to do. What do you get access to? You get access to our platform where you can see all campaigns, metrics, and conversations with leads. Can we target multiple different industries or sell different products? Yes, we can. However, it may take a little bit longer to create all of the campaigns for each segment. And this is a really good one. Should you fire your sales reps? And it's a really good one because no, you shouldn't. Don't think of this as a replacement to your sales reps. Instead, think of it as a way for them to increase their productivity, and you'll be able to do a lot more per person. Each and every sales rep will be able to accomplish more. And here's our list of requirements. First, you need to be a B2B company and your lifetime value must be higher than $10,000 to $15,000, or at least the segment will be going after. The lifetime value will be higher there. Then your total addressable market must be sufficiently big enough. And if you're not sure, we'll help you figure that out as well. And this is for you if you want to make outbound finally work, if you have tried it in the past and it hasn't worked and you finally want to make it work, or if you have never tried any outbound, but you're interested. And this is for you if you need a predictable, constant flow of leads and high quality opportunities. And here's a comprehensive list of all the industries we've worked with and have gotten great results for. A lot of SaaS companies, you can read through the whole thing, I'm not going to do that. And this will not work for you if you're selling anything B2C, if your lifetime value is less than $10,000, and if your total addressable market is really small. And you're still here, which means that you're probably somewhat curious and you would like to know how we can help you specifically. The next logical step for you is to book a call where you'll be speaking to me, and I'm not even going to try to sell you anything on that call because, well, honestly, I don't have the time for that. It is solely to see if this can be a win-win opportunity for both sides. And if not, we can just end the call right there and not waste anybody's time with pointless sales questions. But if you are a fit, we can discuss what we can do for you, and on that call we can come up with a plan. And for those of you who watch the whole video, I have a gift for you. Just tell me on that call that you watched the whole way through, and my team and I will create for you a 3-step sequence, so an entire sequence, and give you 500 leads which are double verified and are in your ICP, which you can send that campaign to. And you have this within 1 to 2 days after the call. Just tell me you watch the whole way through and I'll give you that. And there should be a button below or a link you can click and book the call right there. And don't procrastinate on this, because in 90 days, you could either already be getting meetings with high quality prospects and be getting a consistent flow of sales opportunities at a great cost, or you could just be 90 days older. If you watched so far, you probably know what the right decision is.